You are not weak for feeling this way. You are not broken for wanting to stop. You are not alone in standing at the edge of everything you built and wondering if any of it was worth it. Solomon stood there too, the richest man who ever walked this earth. The man God personally visited in a dream and said, "Ask for anything, anything at all." And Solomon chose wisdom over gold. He built an empire that modern billionaires cannot match. His wealth in today's money, over $2 trillion. His temple took 7 years to build, using over 100,000 workers. Kings sent him gifts. Queens traveled 200 miles just to sit at his feet. And yet, Solomon wrote the most devastating sentence in all of human history. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity. This was not a man who had nothing. This was a man who had everything and still felt exactly what you are feeling right now. That is not an accident. That is a message written directly to you, because Solomon knew this moment would come. He predicted it, he documented it, and he left the answer buried inside words most people read as religion. Words that were actually written as survival instructions. This channel exists to decode what was hidden. Today this video is for the person who is one more disappointment away from stopping. One more silence from the people who should have believed in you. One more month of invisible effort and zero recognition. Solomon saw you coming 3,000 years ago, and what he wrote will change how you see everything happening to you right now. Stay with this until the end. The part that will hit you hardest comes last. Most people think giving up is a decision. Solomon knew it is a slow erosion. It does not happen in one single moment. It happens in 1,000 small moments where nobody notices your effort, where the work you do in silence receives no applause, where the sacrifices you make are invisible to everyone around you. Proverbs 14:13. Even in laughter, the heart may ache. Solomon was not talking about sadness. He was talking about the specific pain of performing strength while bleeding internally. The smile you put on for people who will never understand what it costs you to keep going. The composed face you wear in public while something inside you is falling apart. Solomon lived this. He wrote this from experience, not theory. And the fact that he wrote it 3,000 years ago means this is not your personal failure. This is the universal experience of every person who ever chose to build something real. The erosion always comes. The question Solomon answered was never, "Will you feel like giving up?" The question was, "What do you do when you do?" And his answer is not what the church taught you. His answer is not pray harder. His answer is not be grateful. His answer is a system, a specific sequence of mental moves the wealthiest, most powerful man in ancient history used to survive his own darkness. And it starts with the most counterintuitive instruction he ever gave. He said, "Go sit with your pain. Do not run from it. Do not distract yourself from it. Do not anesthetize it with noise and entertainment and opinions of people who never built anything." Ecclesiastes 7:3. Sorrow is better than laughter because a sad face is good for the heart. Solomon was not promoting depression. He was identifying the mechanism by which pressure produces transformation. The same fire that destroys unprepared wood forges steel. You cannot become steel by avoiding the fire. This is the first thing they hid from you about Solomon's teachings. He was not teaching religion. He was teaching metallurgy of the human soul. Step 1 is, you must let the heat do its work. Every person who has ever built something lasting went through this exact fire. The entrepreneur who mortgaged everything and heard nothing back for months. The parent working 2 jobs in silence while the family sleeps. The creator publishing into the void with zero response for a year. Solomon documented all of them. Because the pattern never changes. Fire comes before gold. Pressure comes before diamonds. Silence comes before the voice the world cannot ignore. And the people sitting in that silence right now are the ones being prepared for something the comfortable will never receive. Here is what Solomon understood about human beings that modern psychology is only now catching up to. Pain that is avoided always returns, stronger. Pain that is faced directly transforms into something else entirely. Ecclesiastes 3:1. There is a time for everything, a season for every activity under the heavens. Most people quote this at weddings and funerals. Solomon wrote it as a strategic framework. He was saying, your current season of pain is not permanent, but it is necessary, and the people who try to skip this season always pay double on the other side. Solomon himself did not skip it. After building the largest empire the ancient world had ever seen, he watched it fracture. His alliances collapsed. His kingdom began splitting at the seams. The very wisdom God gave him, he had used and then ignored. And he wrote Ecclesiastes in that darkness, not as defeat, as documentation. He was mapping the terrain of collapse so that anyone who came after him would recognize the landscape. And no, they were not lost. You are not lost. You are exactly where Solomon said you would be. And the path out is already marked. Here is the second thing they never taught you about Solomon's mental system. He separated noise from signal. Proverbs 4:23. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. The modern world produces an infinite amount of noise designed to make you feel like you are behind. Behind the people posting results you cannot verify. Behind the timeline you set for yourself at an age when you did not understand how long real things actually take. Behind some invisible standard that shifts every time you get close to it. Solomon called this the trap of comparison. He identified it as the single fastest way to destroy a mind built for greatness. Ecclesiastes 4:4. All toil and achievement spring from one person's envy of another. He was not celebrating this. He was exposing it. He was saying, the engine running most human ambition is borrowed pain. Pain taken from watching other people and measuring yourself against a highlight reel you were never supposed to be watching. The person who feels like giving up today is almost always watching the wrong scoreboard. Solomon's scoreboard was different. It did not measure against other people. It measured against purpose. Proverbs 19:21. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. This is not a passive statement. This is one of the most aggressive wealth and power principles ever written. It means your competition is not the person next to you. Your competition is the distance between where you are and what you were built to become. That race has no other runners. Only you. Only your potential. Only the gap between your current output and your actual capacity. When Solomon reframed his scoreboard, everything changed. Here is the third hidden teaching. The one that built his $2 trillion empire from nothing but a question asked in a dream. Solomon understood that wisdom is not passive. Wisdom is the most aggressive acquisition strategy ever documented. Proverbs 4:7. The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom. Though it cost you everything you have, get understanding. Though it cost you everything you have. Solomon was not speaking metaphorically. He spent his entire reign acquiring knowledge from traders, architects, foreign kings, and enemies. He studied botany, psychology, economics, military strategy, and human behavior. His court was not just a political structure. It was the most sophisticated intelligence operation in the ancient world. Every person who came to Solomon thinking they were receiving charity was actually feeding his database. Every person who brought Solomon a problem gave Solomon a pattern, and Solomon converted patterns into power. This is what Proverbs actually is. Not a religious document, a compressed database of 3,000 years of human behavioral patterns filtered through the mind of the most intelligent ruler who ever lived. Sitting in your phone right now, completely free, and almost nobody is reading it as the weapon it actually is. The person who feels like giving up today has forgotten one thing Solomon never forgot. The darkest moment in any process always arrives just before the breakthrough. Not sometimes, always. Proverbs 24:16. For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. 7 times. Solomon did not say once. He did not say twice. He said 7. Because he knew the fall is not the end of the story. The fall is the middle of the story. and you are not at the end. The person watching this right now is somewhere in the middle, which means the best part of your story has not been written yet. Solomon wrote his best chapters after his darkest season, and so will you. Here is what nobody tells you about the people who eventually win. They were not the most talented. They were not the luckiest. They were not the ones who never doubted. They were the ones who kept moving inside the doubt. Solomon wrote the entire book of Ecclesiastes while doubting, while questioning everything he had built, while sitting in the wreckage of decisions that had cost him his kingdom's unity. And yet, he kept writing. He kept documenting. He kept building the manual that 3,000 years later is still the most downloaded book in human history. Because he understood something the people around him could not see. The work done in darkness is the work that lasts. Ecclesiastes 9:11. The race is not to the swift or the battle to the strong, nor does food come to the wise or wealth to the brilliant, but time and chance happen to them all. Solomon was not saying luck determines everything. He was saying the person who stays in the race long enough eventually hits the moment where time and chance align. And that moment only arrives for the person who is still running. Most people stop 50 yards before that moment. They stop when the silence gets too loud. They stop when the effort feels invisible. They stop when the people around them stop believing. And they will never know how close they actually were. You cannot afford to be that person, not because someone is watching, not because you owe it to anyone, but because Solomon himself, the man who saw everything, wrote this specifically for the moment you are living right now. Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3:6. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. This is not a passive prayer. This is an operational instruction. Stop trying to see the entire staircase. Take the next step, the one directly in front of you, not the step 10 years from now, not the step that requires everything to go right simultaneously. The next step, the one available to you today, with the resources you have today, with the energy that remains today. Solomon built his empire one decision at a time, not one vision at a time, one decision. The temple took 7 years because someone cut one stone per day. Your empire is being built the same way, and the days you feel like stopping are the days the most important stones get cut, because those are the days that reveal what you are actually made of. Not the good days, not the days when motivation flows easily and the path feels clear. The days like today, the days when you found this video because something inside you was still looking for a reason to continue. That reason is not inside this video. That reason is inside you. This video just reminded you it was there. Now here is what Solomon left that goes beyond what any single video can hold. The complete system, 7 principles he used to build the wealthiest empire in human history, is decoded and documented in the link below this video. Not as religion, not as motivation, as a practical blueprint for money, for mental strength, for the kind of power that does not ask for permission and does not wait for applause. The link is in the description right now. Click it before you close this tab, because the people who click it today are the same kind of people Solomon wrote about. The ones who act when it matters. The ones who do not wait for perfect conditions. The ones who cut the stone even on the days they do not feel like it. Before you leave, one thing. Drop one word in the comments right now. One word that describes exactly where you are in this moment. Not a paragraph. One word. Solomon said, "Iron sharpens iron." The person reading your word in those comments is fighting the same battle, and neither of you has to fight it alone. Subscribe to the ancient throne. Every video on this channel is a page from the manual Solomon left behind, decoded for the people who are still running, still building, still refusing to stop. The wisdom was always here. The throne was always yours. Now go cut the next stone.